We're live, I think.
Yeah.
Let's hope. Do we
So
have
we're
to
talking
hope?
phones, or we're talking, what do we begin with?
We're talking random stuff. Let's start with a game debrief.
Yes. So last week we did tiny bit, but we wanted to finish the call and it had been a little bit of a while. So we finished our session of, I don't know how many times it took us to finish a bunch. I thought it was good. I said 3. That was really optimistic.
Yeah, it was.
But
Really
there's also a
optimistic.
bunch of times that we didn't play, and I don't know how many calls it was, 5, 6 in total. 7.
I have no idea how many times it was. It was a lot.
Also,
Was
there's a
good.
bunch of times like last time where we talked for half an hour, then we played for half an hour. So I don't know.
It doesn't
It's
matter.
unwatchable, but we said we're not doing this for anybody else but ourselves. So
And and even if we're doing it even doing this, knowing that it's live, it does change the conversation.
it
And I
does.
like the challenge.
So we played your first tabletop role-playing game.
Yes.
Live with a special game system that is inspired by investigations, and in this case, hard-boiled detective film noir investigation meets supernatural cosmic horror of Lovecraft's Cthulhu.
Well, hang on a second.
Confidential.
So when I was about 14, I played Hero Quest. No, I played Space Crusade.
Yeah, awesome.
And I don't remember playing through the whole thing. I just remember being fully into the experience. I didn't play Hero Quest and I really wanted to.
Did you see that it was republished last year?
You did tell me that. I might actually buy it and then start introducing my nephews to it.
Get it for Christmas and play with your nephews over the holidays.
I might do that. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. And then I also played the computer game version of Space Crusade a bit on my Amstrad CVC 464, which I really enjoyed, although it took me a while to get my head around what was going on. And then I used to read the Fighting Fantasy Steve Jackson, Ian Livingstone books, which is more choose your own adventure than role playing game, and that was it. That's my entire experience up until we played.
Yeah. So
and then the aborted Fiasco as well.
Yes, we started playing Fiasco. So how did you enjoy it? I guess the debrief your experience, even though it was, interspersed with our conversations and over the course of nearly a year, which is silly, but it doesn't matter. We finished it, so I'm quite happy.
I like the fact that it's a complete experience.
Yeah.
I discovered some things about myself. I discovered I love stories. I really love stories.
I think it's one of the things that makes us enjoy talking with one another.
Stories are my thing. And I don't think I realized how much I love stories until going through this whole experience. I love the plot. I love characters. I love trying to figure things out. We rewatched Knives Out last night. I'm cool. Such a good film. Remember, and it's intricately put together.
Yeah, the new one's supposed to be good.
Is it? Oh, well, we're going to see that soon. So I love stories. That's the first thing I discovered. The second thing I discovered is that it's a very collaborative, interesting experience. I'm almost disembodying. I'm this guy, and at the same time I'm me. And what brought that home to me was Davina was in the other room and we were playing. And afterwards she was like, "What were you doing? You were talking like you were someone else." I was like, "Well, we were playing role playing." She went, "Oh, okay, fine." She explained it.
But you were talking like you were someone else. This is exactly what's going on.
It was this. And then I realized it is disembodying, but it's so immersive. It goes beyond.
That's probably one of the least immersive things I've done, but it was still you get into it.
I got the general principle of it, and I got the idea of it, and I get why people love it, and I get for me it was immersive, and I was thinking like the character, and I was wondering what was going to happen and all of that. So those two things I discovered, that it was disembodying, and it was I love stories. And then having reference points made a huge difference to my experience. So once I watched The Big Sleep, my enjoyment increased exponentially.
Yeah.
So I can imagine having certain reference points and understanding the tropes within a particular universe makes a huge difference to being able to participate and think about it and
I
whatever.
really believe so. That's a conversation I've had several times with other friends in the podcast we do about role-playing games.
Mm.
And I've made the point several times without having anything to back it up that the other guys saying that the other two people that I'm participating with saying they increasingly enjoyed games with less and less kind of information, background information, more simple.
Really?
But I kept saying, and I can't shake the idea that the reason why you can play those things is because you have a wealth of other things
Yes.
to draw on, both
Yes.
from now there's things that we all do from movies, TV shows, etc. But they also have tons of like 20 years of role-playing game experience to draw on when they play things.
Yeah.
So then you can
that.
play more things. No, it's not entirely true what I'm saying, because I've also met people who've only played those kinds of simple games and really enjoy them. But I've equally come across people who are like, well, I don't understand what is it that we're playing. I don't have anything to.
And for me,
and then they're like, just make it up. And some people have a really hard time with that, just like we were talking before.
Yeah. Now I could make it up, but having a playground, it was and that's the other thing that I got from it is it's pure play. It's intricate, enjoyable. You're not sure what's happening, having to adapt, create on the fly, play. And there were points where I was like really nervous. I didn't know what was going to happen, or I didn't know what to do or what to say. And I think that's where knowing that you were going to actually kind of walk me through it helped a lot. I
started a new game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, you did say that,
with friends. So we played on Thursday. It's only like the second or third session, but I'm looking forward to playing this. It's cool. One, it's really great to have a group of people. So and I mean, it just so happens. I was going to say, unfortunately, it's not necessarily unfortunate, but there's a lot more guys that do play and responded when I was looking for people to play. So it's a guys' night too. Which is fine. So on one hand, it brings a whole other something to have a woman at the table, at least one, ideally a bit more. And it's great that it's mixed. On the other hand, it's cool to do a guys' night. So it's not poker, it's Dungeons and Dragons. But just like everybody brings the snacks and got some beers and we play Dungeons and Dragons. It's cool. And so we're just at the beginning, and this is the very classic what's called old school type of role playing. So it's based on the first rules of the guy who created Dungeons and Dragons, Gary Gygax.
When was that?
In the 1970s.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So all that to say, so it's the first time I'm playing kind of the original rules that we're testing. What it means is that it's very deadly. So the analogy that was chosen by the game master, a friend Xavier, to compare the current edition of Dungeons and Dragons, which is the 5th edition, and he was like, it's more heroic compared to this old school version, is like, well, to give you an idea, so you're an adventurer and you're a group of adventurers probably doing some dungeon things, or whatever else you're doing. But if I tell you there's a door in this room, if you're playing the current edition of Dungeons and Dragons, you can go, yeah, okay, I opened the door, and you'll probably survive somehow. The rules are made in such a way that you can make yourself out of the way.
Yeah.
In the old school version, you take your 9-foot pole to poke at the door first to figure out if there's anything going on, because just any mistake can kill you.
Which makes for short games, but
you have
learning.
there's more complex rules in the current edition.
Okay.
The old school edition has less rules, so there's more on the fly adaptation.
Okay.
But there's also just a little bit more. I have to be very careful, particularly at the beginning, because you're very fragile. You have I have 9. I mean, I have a lot of hit points. I have 9. I think that's a lot. But most people have got 5 hit points. And so basically just there's a lot of things that can kill you in one hit.
Oh God.
Which is sort of like, real, if there's a real monster that showed up and struck you across the throat, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's meant to be more, realistic in whatever way. But anyhow, all that to say that we were exploring the dungeon that we're in. So there's I can tell you about the whole plot that we're in this game, which is cool. But regardless of the plot, we were going down this dungeon, knowing that we're very weak. So we're being very careful. We're like, just, okay, if we can manage to clear one room, we'll be very happy and walk back out. And of course we did one, and then another one, and then another one. And every time we had the voice of reason in the group. So this also to say it's a different experience when you're in a group.
Yeah, of course.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah,
one
yeah,
person's like, no, guys, we said we were only doing one room. We're at a third. Let's not push our luck. We're like, oh, come on, one more. We could do one more. And one person who's I was a little bit pushing it, and then when he said for the third time, let's stop, I was like, no, you're right. We should stop this. This feels like the next one, I think, is going to be the one where there's a trap or something super dangerous on the other side. And one of us goes, no, I'm feeling it. So I go and open the door and I walk through. And just what's funny is that because it's the old school, because it's the old school version, it seems completely silly to say, I'm just going to go through and open the door to the next room in the dungeon.
Yeah.
But in this particular game, it can be very reckless.
Yeah.
Do that.
Totally. I get it.
And then suddenly we found ourselves in a situation where we were like, throwing dice for our lives. And when you're really into it, it's silly but you're into it. So you're just throwing the dice and going, oh no, you're paralyzed. Oh my God, I have to carry this person and I'm wounded and I'm almost going to die. We made it, but it makes it that little, what's going to happen?
To be fair to the Stranger Things, they did capture that sense of, you watched season 4?
No, I still haven't watched season 3.
Okay. Okay. They
watched the first or second episode of season 3. I have to catch up on it. I will at some point.
What you just described, they do capture that sense very well. There's a few moments in season 4 where they do capture that. But you're reminding me of when some of my friends at school at lunchtime would play a role-playing game, and they were really into it. I never played, but I would like to listen and kind of.
And you mentioned that.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. You've reminded me of that. So it was really interesting. I don't know why I didn't want to play. I was kind of like happily just listening to what they were talking about and getting.
Well, there was a whole period where doing this was super weird and attracted weird people. Now there's a lot of cool people, but I went to a games event yesterday, which is a good reminder that there's a mix of also people that it's. I'm going to be disparaging if I say. I don't want to be. Okay. People.
No, but the different communities attract different things, because the reason I asked when it was created is because I was thinking about when we went to LA recently. Mm-hmm. We were walking on, it must have been Venice Beach or something, and there were these 4 guys, skateboarders, and they were doing their thing as skateboarders do, skating, trying new tricks, jumping, all of that, except they were our age. They could have been like 15, but instead they were like 45 doing their thing.
That's how old the skateboarders are now. That's the generation.
Exactly. And
also makes me think, did you see the John Lewis Christmas ad?
No.
Oh, you can watch that maybe.
Is it worth watching?
Yeah, it's worth watching. It's good. It's a good one.
Because it's nostalgic?
Because there's a dude playing skateboarding in it. That's why
I'm. Okay, all right. I actually do want to get
without giving anything else away. There's a dude skateboarding, and he's our age, or older, possibly. Yes, exactly.
I do need to get out on it. I do want to get out on it.
I don't know how to skateboard.
I used to be.
Should. It's the kind of stuff I've been thinking. Good. Well, I've been thinking of. Anyway. I'm not even going to say it. The number of things, physical exercises that I would keep saying I should do more of while I'm growing fat and old and not doing enough of. I went cycling yesterday to that event thing, and I felt I was puffing in a way that I shouldn't be, that I felt like I wasn't a few months ago. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. Well,
the thing that's made the difference for me is a context of play. That's purely why I'd be going on the skateboard, is play. And
so to circle back, just to finish on anything to debrief. So you enjoyed it?
Oh, I loved
it. Ready to play again?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for a group, because I know there's particular gaming systems if there's 2 of you, right?
Yeah, but we could do well. Why do you think you're not ready for a group?
I don't know. I'm just a bit scared.
Oh, I think it's awesome
I
to
don't know.
play in a group. The group thing is just more. It takes some effort.
Yeah.
But gaming and anything like that, actually, sports same, but more so because you need a group of people. So it does really take effort, and even more so at our age, because we have
Well, yeah, because we've
obligations,
got loads
there's
of other
work
things.
things, there's
Yeah.
also other friends or partners that got things going on, and we don't even have children. People who have children is even more complicated.
I was going to say
Although a lot of parents just instead what they start doing is play with their kids.
that's
Some of them
how it
do
goes.
that. It's
Well, I
well, of
mean,
course. It's not the same as playing with grown-ups, of course.
no, it wouldn't be. But I think I would like to play another game, and because of our friendship, it works. I'd like to play a game. Like, I'd really like to finish Fiasco with our mutual friends.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Actually, yeah, but we haven't talked to anyway. That's a different story. We can
I know,
park
but
one
that
anytime.
I think that if I
I
play
think they're not
poker,
really into it though.
I think you
I
might
mean,
be
it's
right.
very obvious.
I think you might be right, because whenever I play poker, I don't really like playing poker. I like hanging out with friends,
Yeah, me too.
and I think playing a
That's
game.
part of what I like. I really like the social aspect of hanging out with people. So that Dungeons and Dragons night, there's a lot of people I know
Yep.
that play online, and
Mhm.
I play online. I do have a regular game to a group of people I like, and it's not that often. But I have another friend who plays a lot more online. A lot other people, even more so since the pandemic. But I don't like it. I mean, I like it ish, just like I enjoy it with you, but I enjoy also the Dungeons and Dragons night because it's in person. We're with people.
Mm. Mm.
It's different.
Yeah,
So
it is different.
so
I think
anyhow, but for sure, I would be more than happy to do something else next year. So we can do another game, Dungeons and Dragons or something else together.
I think we should, and I think we should plan it out a bit better
Yeah, sure.
so we can intersperse. Like, so if we know that if we schedule it all out and we know when we're going to be playing, we can intersperse it with separate conversations if we want. I'd love to do
Okay,
that.
sure. If you want
So
to have it
then,
more scheduled, you like
yeah,
to
I
have
do.
things
I
scheduled.
like that kind of stuff. As you know, I'm like that. You know, my wife and I are like that. So
Yeah.
I know you inwardly might be laughing at how scheduled my life is, but it works for me.
Power to you.
So, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll work that out next year. I'd love to do that. I wanted to ask you about marketing. So you've been
Okay.
writing posts about marketing. You just read Nudge.
I mean, yes, let's say yes, sure. I've
What?
been procrastinating and avoiding writing real actual posts about marketing, but let's move on to the question, because otherwise it does not useful what I'm
So
saying.
I've been teaching about the marketing mix to one of my classes. They're like 14,
So what's
15,
that, the 4 Ps or
16, the basic 4 Ps.
okay.
Yeah. And then,
Something that's not even taught at all in France, I don't think.
oh, really? Oh,
No.
okay. So four
Anyhow,
Ps:
okay, sorry. Yeah.
product, price, place, promotion. The theory, a product is anything that meets customer needs. And the guys have really got it. This pupil puts his hand up and says, "Have you heard of Cortez jeans?" Cortez, the clothing company, went, "No." Cortiez. Have you heard of them?
Cortiez?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what is it?
So
Why should I?
so he explained to me what they did. So
Okay.
they're English,
Yeah.
and I thought this was really cool, really cool.
Mhm.
And then I started reading up a little bit about it, and I watched them. I was like, wow, he's proper street level guerrilla marketing nonsense, and I think it's really cool. So what these people told me is that what they did was they they got a guy with a GoPro filming, and he's walking through a London market, and he's walking through all these stores. You see him walking, you see him interacting with people and like whatever, having a few silly conversations, and then he sees on a market stall up this pair of cargos from Cortez, and it has a sign underneath it, 99p. And he's talking, what, 99p for those cargos? No way, no way. He
Cargos or
goes,
pants? Cargo pants.
yeah,
Yes.
cargo pants,
Okay.
and they're branded. They're Cortez branded. he goes in and he says to the guy, "Are they really 99p?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, 99p, 99p." And he gets out and he says, "Will you take a pound?" Says, "No, it has to be exactly 99p." So you see him get out 99p in coppers, hand it over, and take the cargoes. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm so glad. I can't believe I got these. Great." And it pops up with like the location. You can get a Cortez branded cargoes for 99p in coppers, right? And what they do is that on their website, it's just a bar. Put your email address in, and when they're about to drop some new clothes, you get sent the location. Now, this has really grabbed people. So it was Shepherd's Bush Market. You had like hundreds of kids just like going to Shepherd's Bush Market to try and get these jeans, these cargoes for 99p in coppers. It was
So just okay. I'll let you finish. Is that it or?
Well, so you don't know his face. Like he's always wearing a balaclava. This guy, the guy he's interacting
Wearing a
with.
balaclava?
Yeah.
Sounds intense.
It is, but I think and the kids now talking about a ballet as in a balaclava. I associate balaclava with that imagery of terrorism, the IRA, all that kind of stuff. But I think the balaclava has become a bit of a thing during lockdown, having a mask, wearing a mask. So people wear balaclavas, that kind of stuff. They're a lot more common now, and they're becoming a bit more stylish and distinctive. But yeah, it is pretty intense. The band, the Manic Street Preachers, they had loads and loads of years ago when they performed wearing balaclavas on Top of the Pops, and Top of the Pops got loads and loads of complaints sometime in the 80s or 90s. It's ridiculous. But it's now there are people wearing balaclavas, right? So this guy who started this brand, this clothing brand.
It is a clothing brand. I thought you said it was a software company. I didn't understand.
No, it's a clothing brand.
It's a clothing brand. Okay, got it.
Streetwear, massive awareness. The guys were telling me in class, like they all knew about it. They thought it was really cool. And I was like, that's really clever. It's a really clever bit of street marketing to generate massive awareness, write-ups on Vox and on, I think, Vogue as well for this new streetwear brand that's generating loads of buzz, taking it back to the streets, not the billion-dollar money-making, whatever that it is. He did another campaign where you turn up at a car park and you can exchange your North Face or your Canada Goose jacket for a Cortez jacket. And that's what people are doing, exchanging their high-end brands for a Cortez jacket.
All right, cool. So
I wanted to know what you thought about this kind of.
What's the question?
The question is, what do you think about street level marketing and intentional viral marketing? It's really hard, but
it's a vast question. I'm not sure what I think about it. So it sounds interesting what you're describing.
And you hadn't heard of it?
Doing it well? No, I hadn't heard of it. I have to check it out. So I don't have an opinion because I haven't heard about it. It sounds like what you're describing is they're doing the right things to get the kids excited about their brand. The question it does raise, I'm thinking about it like a little bit of the other big ticket brand that we haven't talked about, well, because we haven't talked about marketing in a while. Have you heard of Liquid Death?
Liquid Death? No.
Yeah, so I hadn't heard about Liquid Death until not that long ago, to be honest, and I was almost embarrassed to start looking at it.
But it sounds cool, though.
It is. It's so Liquid Death is so ridiculous. So Liquid Death is canned water, but using all the marketing codes from both heavy metal, energy drinks, and all the it's taking the same kind of and like street extreme sports, skateboarding and everything else, stylized skulls, and because it's Liquid Death, murder your thirst. That's the slogan. So they're selling water for like 5 times the price, and they're doing all sorts of crazy stunts with celebrities. They did one with a porn star. They did all sorts of stuff. They keep doing and it was created by a dude who worked in advertising.
Of course.
And so it's all brand, it's all brash, it's all. So, and I listened to an analysis from somebody from Professor Scott Galloway. He's quite a smart
Of
guy
course.
when it comes to the
Yeah.
market and everything. And because it came out, they raised another round of funding, Liquid Death,
Oh my
and they
God.
were evaluated at something stupid like $80 million,
What?
or more than that. I think it was 80
I'm going
billion.
to show the kids this. I think it's
80
so
billion,
funny.
I think it was.
Eight-
So his point was, well, smart branding, very
Yeah.
cool stuff.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's no way that a canned water company is worth that much. And if
Yeah.
somebody's ready to pay for it, they should sell immediately, because they're
Yeah.
not doing anything that can't be replicated immediately by big competitors.
Yeah.
Danone, Coca-Cola, whoever can just like activate their marketing machine and come out with something similar straight away.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about so smart branding is smart. It's really, really key to being able to be successful. It sounds like this clothing company is doing that really well to get the kids excited and using the codes of what they use today. Of an influencer, a street level like first person camera, doing something that seems to be cheap to get people excited. And then the thing is, it doesn't. So without having looked at it, okay, it doesn't preclude having a really good product if you want longevity on what you're doing.
Well, this is something else interesting.
I don't know what they have going on with their products. And now there's a lot of brands and a lot of products that are completely just 100% built on the hype.
Yeah.
And it works.
Like
until
Supreme.
They get bought, and it works. And so it's entirely possible that Cortez is that way. But to use the Liquid Death analogy, the other thing is, what is different about your product that makes it worth so much? Because you can build the brand, and the brand does add value, and you get people excited, you get yourself noticed, and that is super important. But ideally, there should be something intrinsically valuable in your product, if not different.
Yes.
But at least somehow valuable to be longer term, because otherwise, you don't have the long-term value. The next kid on the block who does something else is going to upend you immediately. So now, if your strategy as a business is to get as much attention as possible, and there's always a part of luck in all this stuff, by the way.
Yeah.
And when you said street level, there's got to be more than street level marketing mix to be able to get those kinds of things to be successful.
Yeah.
Meaning there's got to be either and it's an or, but probably a smart mix of those things, media money behind it, so that you're advertising in the right times in the right spots on Instagram, and or working with the right influencers to get your message noticed, and all launched at the same time, on a neighborhood level or a city level or whatever else it is that they're doing.
It's the
I
thing
would have
about
to look closer to have an
I'd be
impression.
interested to get your take on it, because to have something intentionally go viral is massively risky. You can't control it. You don't know what's going to happen or whatever the hell's going on anyway. Just maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, but that's what everybody. I mean, I've been working in this industry for 20 years, and for 10 of them, and even if I was still in an agency every day, I would probably still hear it, that I want something that goes viral.
Yeah,
that's increasingly impossible.
Yeah.
Or to just as I just want it to happen. Now, also, big clients are rarely ready to do something risky enough or crazy enough to make it happen.
Yes.
The Liquid Death and possibly this example are brands managed by people who really understand the codes, who really understand what it means, rather than a giant multinational corporation that is less willing to take those kinds of risks, because they got a legal department, because they got a lot of other people, they got a lot of layers, they need a lot of people to agree with things, and they have a lot more to lose. They have all the market share. The new guy on the block doesn't have anything, so they're ready to do all sorts of crazy stuff to get noticed.
Yeah. But
I don't know if I was answering to your point about.
No, you are. Everything you're saying, I think, is stimulating.
It's always easy to comment. Those have been the ones that taken risks. What makes the difference between a brand that is successful at it or not, oftentimes is a matter of how much you've spent and luck. And of course, the idea plays into it, but I'm sure that you could, discount a pair of cargos and everybody's forgotten about it. Nobody noticed.
Well, this is
I
what
don't
this
know.
is. That's what I was going to say. There's two things I was going to say. The first one is, for a while, Supreme was everywhere. That brand
Okay.
Supreme, and the kids were talking about it, and there's a new
So when you
drop.
say everywhere, do you mean is that from your perspective at the school?
Yeah, that's from my perspective at the school.
Because
And
I know Supreme as a brand. I don't know it very well, to be honest. I'm not
there was
because I'm not in a school. I'm in my house all the time. So I mean, I shouldn't say this publicly because I lose any kind of cred. I don't
Well,
have
hang on a
much cred
second.
as a strategist. I don't think, but
You said that you play role-playing games. I think that paints a picture.
no. What I mean by that is I'm not out there with what's going on with people.
I suppose
I don't
I'm
even
only,
have any, like you, at least you have your school. So, I mean, it's a certain perspective. It's
yeah,
not
that's what I was going to say. It is the
always
reference
is, whatever we have going on, right?
that, and for me, I find it interesting and fascinating what the kids, how things wax and wane, and
Mhm.
what is currently like trending, if you want to
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
I find it endlessly fascinating. So
sure.
so interesting. So from the talking in the context of what the kids at my school were talking about
Mm.
as a kind of unrepresentative sample of what kids might be talking about, there was the fidget spinners, which are everywhere and did my head in.
Well, that's
Then there
years
was,
ago already, no?
yeah, it was years ago already. Fortnite was huge, kind of gone,
Not as huge.
not
People
as
play,
huge.
but it's not as big, or
I
don't play.
don't think people play it at all. I mean, before that, Call of Duty was huge, and then they all stopped playing that.
Yeah,
And
because they
then
just released the Modern Warfare 2, which is a big deal. So, do you think they, anyway?
I'll ask them, but I did see that on the side of
I'm
of
only
the
curious
bus.
because there's one class that I've just finished grading one class, and I did something different with my classes this semester,
Yeah,
which I'm
you were
not going
saying.
to repeat. But I decided to give them individual exercise assignments, and twice, and they're big classes. So I just finished grading 36 of them, and I got another
Mistake.
36. It's a bad idea. And
That was
for
a
the
bad
first
idea.
one, it was even worse idea. I said, pick a campaign you want, whatever.
Bad
And
idea.
so my idea was I'm going to learn about a lot of campaigns, which is true, but it took me a lot of time to get through them. And I still have another like 37 or 35 to go through.
Standardize as much as you can. It's much easier to mark.
I knew it was a bad idea, but anyhow,
Or split it in two at least. So they give them a choice between two. So then you get
the
two
other
perspectives.
class I split it in two insofar as I put them in groups of two to do the assignment.
Fair enough.
So it was splitting the difference between a group of 5 or 6 people. Anyway, I'm trying new things. I was trying, honestly, well, it doesn't matter. I don't think anybody's going to listen to this, but the past 2 years, and these are 5th-year students, I asked them to do presentations in a group of 5 or 6, which is a lot of what is being asked of them in the school.
Mm-hmm.
And I twice in 2 years, I thought the presentations were really bad. So I was like, I need to give you other things so your presentations are better, ideally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to sit through 3 hours of bad presentations.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, it's going to take me a lot of effort, but I'm going to do individual assignments. And I didn't, anyway, I think I told you throughout this semester, I wasn't satisfied with the course I did. It was okay, but
You did say it's a very difficult one when you're teaching that kind of stuff and teaching
all
those
that
kind
to
of skills.
say that one person took the Modern Warfare campaign ad that I did see everywhere when I was in London last month, because it's a
The new
big
weapon
release.
it's like the new weapon, the best weapon is team or something like that.
Yeah,
which I thought was interesting.
yeah, and they have
Really
a whole
interesting.
song with a bunch of rappers and
Oh, do they?
YouTubers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Haven't
squad up.
heard anything from the kids about that.
Yeah, so I think this one is, there's a lot of fatigue, and they went big on the news, and it's a huge global campaign. And I don't know if they're reaching any further than the people who
I'm
just
gonna
play
ask.
usually.
I'm gonna ask.
I'm
I'll
curious.
ask. Yeah. The kids were talking more about.
We could do a little bit of Christmas ad watching or Modern Warfare watching before the end of this, if you want to take 2 minutes. Although, yeah, we will have trouble with YouTube if we have.
Yeah. So I was.
Not that it matters. I mean, we don't advertise or anything. It doesn't really matter.
So what I was
know
saying
because YouTube will say that you have something copyrighted in there. Probably.
You'll take the video down.
No, they don't take the video down. They just, you can't advertise and you can't, but nobody will see it and they won't publicize it, but then they don't, because just, it doesn't, our videos don't particularly matter. And
So-
ultimately, even if they decide to take it down, which I don't think they will, because the ads, it's only if there's copyrighted music in the ads, which happens, but not necessarily all every single time. Anyway.
So the couple of things I was saying is that you get these crazes, they come and go.
Yeah.
You get like Supreme was everywhere in school at one point. They were telling me the story about a brick with the Supreme brand on it sold for X amount of money. It was everywhere, and this brand might be something like that. Fortnite was everywhere. It's not anymore. Minecraft seems to be constant, like universal. Everyone's still talking about Minecraft. That doesn't go anywhere for some reason. Maybe because it's a good product.
Yeah, and I don't know if Fortnite, even if it's less spoken about, I think there's still a lot of people who play it. No, I haven't checked in a while, to be honest. I don't know what the numbers are right now.
I don't know. I don't know if there's as many people who play it, but
they also went into their whole like crazy trying to fight and take on Apple and the Apple Store.
Oh really? I didn't know
that was from 2 years ago already, so I don't even know what happened with it.
Who, Microsoft?
No. I mean, is it Riot Game or Epic Games? Epic Games? Whoever publishes Fortnite, I can't remember.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. But the kids talk a lot about FIFA.
Fortnite was taken off of the well, at the moment that they would talk about FIFA right now, it
Yeah,
makes sense.
But
I watched the France game. But I don't know what happened with England. England was playing 2 days ago. Did you follow?
It was 0-0. I didn't watch it.
Okay. I watched my first game yesterday, which is uncharacteristic for me to start watching so early in the World Cup. I usually watch a bit later, but that said, France was so good last time. And I went to this gaming event. I left a little early and I was walking through a street thinking what I'm doing next, and then realized the game was in 10 minutes. So I was like, I'll just go to a pub and watch it, just whatever, which is great. It was a good game. And this is something that I would never thought about myself a few years ago. It's funny because in the first bar I went to, it was packed with people watching the game. And there was one table with 3 people who were kind of like not into it. And I could hear them singing and laughing in a way that was just meant to be going against the grain of what the game was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they were just yelling, kind of making fun. And it was funny because I was like, wow, I think a few years ago I might have been in that sentiment. Like, I will show you how much I don't care about what you're doing, and football is stupid. Now, why you would go to that extent of energy to do that, I think it's equally stupid. But now I kind of appreciate it. I think it's actually pretty cool. Putting aside all the controversy and messed up stuff about Qatar, of course. I even talked about that with my little brother, who's a lot more into football, and he's into football politics and corruption and everything. He follows all that stuff. And I was like, so wait, did you get the subscription to watch the games? And he's like, yeah. I was like, so you're not boycotting the World Cup? He's like, no, of course not. I have an opinion about it, but I'm still watching the game. I love football. That's and we're screwed. You want to watch the football?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a whole different thing.
The kids were telling me that the game FIFA is no longer. It's like FIFA aren't going to have the official footballers or something in it anymore. It's not going to be FIFA anymore. Yeah, there's some big thing that's happened because there are kids that buy it every single year.
Yeah, but there's also that kind of fatigue of being criticized because which is understandable.
Yeah.
What's understandable is how much can you change the game every single year? And this is where our job comes in, and it really doesn't make a difference to the world at all. We're just completely at the service of all this mess. That says me because I'm reading this little pamphlet about the ABC of anarchism at the moment.
Ooh.
It was, or what is anarchism? It's a little book from 1929, which I'm at the beginning.
Who's it written by? Is it a Russian guy?
I think so. Alexander.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
I
have it.
Begin with a P.
No, I don't think so. I think it begins with a K. Alexander. Do I have his name somewhere? What is anarchism? Or it was originally published as the ABC of anarchism. and also Alexander Berkman.
Okay, different
I don't know
person.
that he's Russian.
No, there's another guy I'm thinking of, but I'll have to read that.
So I'm at the core. It's good, and it was written as a really easy way to explain what the philosophical thinking is for everybody, or at least that's how it was presented or introduced. And I thought, okay, perfect, because I want to learn more about it, and I want a little book to keep reaching my book challenge.
Yeah,
but it reads a lot more as rhetorical questions about what is wrong with capitalism, which is still, it's a bit like, okay, I'd like to have more about what is your system of thought rather than telling me what's wrong about capitalism, although I understand that it feels like he's pounding people into being open to listen to the ideas he's got to say. But also still very interesting to read the perspective of 1929, nearly 100 years ago. And everything that he says is wrong with capitalism is still, it's worse today.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the results of the First World War and talking about the fact that there's another world war is getting ready. And I was like, wow, they knew that?
I suppose
it was the depression. Anyway.
Yeah.
All that to say, the circling back of the thought was about, this is where the marketers come in as to, okay, how are we going to sell the jerseys this year? Every new year football team jerseys, because I've worked on a campaign like that years ago, a long time. And FIFA is the same, as in, okay, we've got a new game. There's like 2 new players, but aside from that, really the game's the same. So how do we sell it? It's completely unnecessary. We'd have another one. It's just purely about making money. And these are often some of the most difficult things to work on, where you're like, all right, do we have new news? Nope. We don't have new news. Really, honestly, we don't really have new news. Do we have a new design?
Stuff.
Well, there's slightly different, the design of the jerseys, for example. Anyhow, there's a lot of products like that are just aren't. Well, I increasingly have a problem with my work. I need a change of work. I probably need to stop reading the kinds of book I read. Or change my career, which is also another option, but I can't have it. Anyway, I don't know. I hope nobody.
That's a very big conversation, changing careers, though.
Yeah, I keep circling back to that one.
How many times have you changed career? There was something
really well.
3,
career,
I remember.
4, really. But I've also changed from jobs, styles of jobs, freelancing, like that. But I have a bit of a. This is how I'm analyzing it so far, talking with friends. I have a bit of fatigue of my line of work and what it takes to promote myself in my line of work.
Yeah.
And of working on my own. So I kind of want, or think it wouldn't be bad to have a bit of a longer stretch of work or a full-time job working with a team and working on problems that are given to me, rather than having to write posts and promote myself and talk about what does marketing do, that I feel like it's the nth time I'm doing this. And I still I know, well, if I think about it, and because I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about it. And you remind me also, you're part of the people that remind me that I have interesting things to say that other people don't know. But because I read a lot of this type of stuff from other people like me, I feel like there's a flood of things that nobody cares about what I have to say, because we all know it. And I'm just repeating things that everybody knows, except that when I tell my students or when I tell you, I realize that people don't necessarily know what I think. But then I have the other compounded thing, which is like, really, it's just more noise. I'm bored of adding more to the general noise of LinkedIn. And then again, I also just need to, which is what I did this week, because I really need new work and new clients and new gigs and new money at this moment. So stop complaining, stop moaning, and just put yourself out there, start writing stuff, send messages to tell people you're looking for work, and etc.
But it does take, I think it takes a lot of guts to be able to say you're in this particular career paradigm, to actually question what you're doing as a whole. I think that takes.
Yeah, but it's well, perhaps. I mean, I'm not sure about guts. It's also a luxury position to be able to question what you're doing. And I have a lot of time. I have also another big problem is I have too much time on my hands. I wouldn't be questioning that much if I had a lot of work going on.
From what I
But
know
I
of
do
you,
like
I
to
think from what I
question.
know of you, I think you would. Even if you had lots of work, I think you'd be like, yeah,
Yeah, I
I
probably would. You're
actually,
right.
I'm not sure. She doesn't know she's live. But yeah, I think you would. I think you would. Even if you had lots of work, I think you'd still be going, I don't know if this is
I
right for
probably would.
me. I don't know if this, I want to do I really want to do this? But
So I still I keep circling around as more the more I have those kinds of questions to, okay, what am I going to do next? What's the next thing? And another friend said maybe you need you know I know you need new stuff. So do you need to go away and travel for a month or 3 months or something? And I was like, really, no, I don't need that. I need to have people to play with or to work with where I am now.
because you were talking, we talked a bit about this because you were talking about using co-working spaces.
Yeah, and I haven't done that yet. I looked into it and I decided against it, but I did find another networking evening on Monday that I'm going to an award ceremony for advertising, which should be pretty interesting. It should be both interesting, fun to look at campaign case studies, and hopefully some good networking. Is more what I need rather than to be in a room with other people on computers. Because I mean, I don't know. I might try the co-working thing. We'll see. But I also did what I needed to do this week, which is to publish on LinkedIn. I'm preparing another post. I need to write more and send messages and, like that.
I can identify a bit of what you're saying because I have strong opinions about teachers and teaching, and I've got a lot of experience with it. And I started posting semi-regularly on LinkedIn.
Which I'm impressed by because you don't need to do that. So
I know I don't need to.
And I got bored of social media. I'm only doing it for LinkedIn because I need to do it professionally.
I did too. I have too. And what has kept me going is that people have told me the posts are really good. And I realized, I think the other thing that helped is getting that certification as a lead practitioner thing in teaching. And then
you finished that. Did we even talk about when you finished it? I can't remember.
We might have, but then I don't think I told you that there's something called the Chartered College of Teachers in the UK, and you can be nominated to become a fellow of the Chartered College. So one of my colleagues nominated me. Did I tell you this? Yeah, so he nominated me, and again, there's a semi-formal application process where you say why you want to be a fellow and what you've done and all that kind of stuff. I submitted that at the beginning of November, right at the end of October, and I got an email a couple of days ago saying congratulations, we're officializing everything. This is just, we're notifying you're going to be a fellow of the Chartered College of Teachers. Suddenly I occur differently for myself. Suddenly
what does that do for you? What does that, is it a distinction? Is it an award? It's a
bit like that. Yeah, the Chartered College is really, really well respected, evidence-based kind of, a bit like it is becoming, because it's relatively new, but it is becoming the professional body for teachers in the UK. And it's got like a royal whatever and royal charter and all that kind of stuff. But even that combined with the lead practitioner thing means that I think differently about what I have to say about teaching. Suddenly I'm occurring different from myself. I think, well, maybe I do have something to say.
So maybe here's the interesting thing. Sorry, I don't know if you're finished. I'm bouncing and I don't know if you're finished.
Keep bouncing. I'm cool with it.
All right.
Because you were doing your master's stuff, weren't you?
Yeah, and I'm done with that. And so I have the experience of being kind of known and appreciated, let's say, as a professional on an international level. And when I meet people here in Paris, in France, and I tell them like what I've done and who I am, they're like, oh, wow, this is a lot of good stuff. But I also really do not have a lot of work with people in French, and I still haven't really managed to, or don't have the experience to have managed to like gotten into the French professional environment with like repeat business, with people who know me, people who call me back, and gotten into the system here, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So I feel like I'm still an outsider, and I kind of am. Now, it's not necessarily wrong, but I feel like it would make my life so much easier if I had that going on.
Yeah.
And I talked to a friend of mine this week while I just messaged him about something else. And he was like, oh, I've got a lot of work going on. And he's somebody who is similar insofar as he's not similar at all. So what I was going to say was just disparaging, but I love him very much, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to say it anyway. He doesn't speak particularly good French. Can't speak French. He's been here for 10 years, but he's works in
French?
advertising.
You grew up in France? We grew up somewhere.
No. He's not French at all.
Okay.
However, he had a full-time job in a Parisian agency for many, many years.
Okay.
For 7 years. And so all the people he's worked with in the past who've moved on to other agencies
and they all connect
know
together.
to call him for freelance stuff.
Yeah.
So he's known, it was his job to be the English writer and English creative director, as in for all the international business, and that he has his level of written English is like miles better than anybody else. But he's got the network in a way that I do not have, and I still don't have. And I've been meeting people, and then there's the added things that which is also where I shouldn't. There's a whole level where I should not worry about this, because I have all my experience from before. So I position myself as a very senior person, and that is out of price range to be hired as a freelancer by most agencies.
Okay.
So there's part of me that thinks that I should be part of that system of agencies, which is where I work, where my job makes sense, etc., which is probably true to an extent. And then there's another part where I've like gone past all that thing. I mean, past is just a way to figure speech. I don't know how to say it. That I'm super senior and I should be working directly with clients. So I should really be meeting more businesses. And so business owners who don't necessarily work with agencies, but might want to work with a consultant like me. And in which case, that's my other question on, okay, well, where to be part and how to be part of more professional networks. Because the pieces of work I've worked with one client over the course of a year was something that was great, but a sort of a dead end professionally. Not dead end, sorry. It doesn't translate very well. But I had that conversation with another friend, meaning it was great work, but it's not leading to anywhere. New work.
Yeah.
Unless they somehow hear of somebody needing a brand specialist, and it might happen from time to time, but it doesn't happen very often.
And then they recommend you. They
might recommend me, but they're not in the world of agencies and communication where you need that kind of stuff more frequently. So that's another one of my. So the two kind of questions I'm leading in front at the moment are, okay, so how do I get more work and new clients, both in getting more into the communication industry system, agency system in Paris, if that makes sense?
Yep.
And how do I get to meet more professional CEOs, basically, and business owners that might be small to medium businesses that certainly don't need a brand guy every day, but how do I get into people's minds for the day they do need one?
Project by project. Yeah.
So one of the ways that one of my friends has got he trains and does lead trainings with an association of business managers, and it's like a network of trainings to think about new things. So I've applied to be part of that. So that could be a thing. Even though he told me that he never got really any business out of it, but I'm like, well, you do get paid for your training, so that is business in and of itself, and you train business owners and managers because that's what that association is about. So they're kind of examining my application, so I'm waiting to hear back. So anyway, so I'm taking actions and doing things, and then my other third thing is I kind of just want maybe a regular long enough gig where I'm part of a team, the problems are given to me, and I'm just working on the things that I as an employee.
Yeah.
I don't know about building that. Well, then that's for what's going on now. And actually I have an interview for a maternity cover for an agency, which would,
Well, when I say
I don't know
build
if that's going to
something,
work, but
it's kind of like you get to be part of something with other people over time.
yeah. And so it's just, and that's like just being an employee where I just have
Mm.
to respond to somebody else's problems. And then the other longer term thing is, okay, well, and I don't know if I ever will do that, but creating my own business and selling my own products or service. And one idea is a school, another idea could be just something else, food probably related.
A school. Food, did you say?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
I
one of
don't
my
really know. I'm just, but one way or another, having my own business and building my own brand
yeah,
rather than feeling like I'm participating to the overconsumption of everything in a way that makes no difference. But that said, it's what pays well and what I know, and it is my job, and I kind of enjoy it. So I don't know.
the idea of a school has cropped up around me a few times. People have said that to me too.
Yeah, I've talked to a friend of ours who think that, and well, since I read Free to Learn, I'm really thinking about that seriously. I want to read more about it, and I want to read more about the Sudbury schools, which I've said before.
Yeah, there was I might see if I can find it. I stumbled across a post on Medium about a Dutch school/learning environment where people arrive, everyone gets together, and they're not in year groups, but there are adults there as well. It's the basic gist of it. And every morning they say what they're going to do and what they want to accomplish in the day. And then at the end of the day, they get together and they share what they've done or whatever it is they were working on. And it could be anything. It could be they're building something. It could be they're researching something. It could be they're writing something. It could be anything. But I'll see if I can find the post. I thought that idea was really intriguing. But the more I think about how much being able to think for yourself and autonomy is important, the more I see how much my job as a teacher is to destroy that in young people. And
Yeah, that
they
must be
can't.
disheartening if you start thinking in that direction and spend too much time worrying about it.
Well, because I do. Well, I did go through a whole. It was your birthday where everything got turned around actually. But the thing that I always go back to is I am fully myself in my job. I don't hold anything back. I say everything I want to say. It's extremely rare that I ever second guess myself when I'm at the front of the class or with pupils. I'm just kind of rolling with it the whole time. And even with colleagues to a certain extent, I will say I've said the most outrageous things or things that would be outrageous for another colleague to say. And people are like, it's just James being James. And that is because I'm thinking a lot about money and what money means. And I do a collage about money and money is you can't. Davina and I have been talking about you can't take money with you. It comes and it goes. It's a flow. Whatever, all that kind of philosophical stuff. And one of my friends said to me, "Yeah, I get a salary, but I also get paid in more than just money. There are times when a pupil will say something to me, and it's just the coolest thing ever."
Well, that's the reason why the school system exploits you.
This is true.
They exploit the real teachers as soon as they see a teaching fiber like that. You might appreciate the fact that you're handing over something. They're like, "Oh, fantastic! We're not going to give you any raises. The job is the reward."
That's very, very true, and you hit the nail on the head there because I'd also like to be doing something where a bit of the opposite.
Particularly when you're working for a private school that is really a
exactly. But I'd like to be doing something where it's mine.
Yeah.
I've created something.
Yeah.
And my contribution is valued and rewarded.
Yeah.
But it's nobody else. It's just me.
Yeah. I would like to do that too. Well, not just me though. I want to anyway. Yeah.
And then we've talked about creating products and that kind of jazz, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
A school. That would be mad. And
would be mad.
International school.
Do you have any other ideas of stuff to talk about remarketing or anything else?
Oh, there was something else I wanted to say about this whole
brand there was
Cortez thing, and it happens a lot with Supreme and other brands. People and the kids again were telling me this. there's a couple of older pupils who've made, one in particular, who's made a lot of money and then spent almost all of it on the things that teenagers spend a lot of money on, especially if they're looking to have a party.
Drugs and alcohol.
I didn't say that out loud. But he makes a lot of money reselling stuff. So you will buy it and then resell it. And they're really into vintage clothing. I'm looking at some of the stuff when they have a non-uniform day and they wear, I'm like, that's the kind of stuff I was wearing in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I'd put on like their jacket on their clothes. It's
That's
become
how
a
we
thing.
know we're old.
Well, exactly.
Gosh. The
But
fashion has revolved entirely now down to what we used to wear when we were kids.
It has.
Wow, we're really old.
But it's now become a thing where people will say to this pupil, "Oh, that's a really cool Mr. D'Souza jacket wearing," and he gets so angry. He gets so angry. But he's made a lot of money reselling stuff. But what's happening with these guerrilla marketing, street level Cortez thing is that people will turn up, they'll get all Supreme, it happened with Supreme as well. They'll buy the product on the drop of an exclusive number and then resell it for way more. And of course, Cortez and Supreme hate that. I know that Cortez really doesn't like it. Like and again, people are commenting on Twitter and on Instagram.
Yeah, there's a whole big,
just going to be
huge economy
resellers
for sneakers as well.
Yeah, it's the same thing with sneakers. There's a guy a bit younger who's been.
I know very little
sneakers.
about it, but I know it's big.
Yeah, they resell it. It's like, okay, but what does that do for a brand? All that kind of stuff.
And there's a lot of people for limited edition, and I've heard there's some, just like you're saying, the young people buy 2 pairs or 3 pairs, ideally.
Yes.
3 pairs.
Yes.
One to keep in this box, one to sell, and one to
wear.
Maybe wear, but like be very careful with it.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
true.
Wear technically.
And when I'm seeing kids around,
and those are expensive shoes. So you're like,
I know. That's what I was going to say.
Money for that?
That's what I was going to say. They're wearing Yeezys.
I didn't have money. My parents didn't have money to buy these, like one of these pairs when I was a kid, of the normal ones.
Yeah. So I'm looking at
let alone the limited editions that come out.
Shocking. Anyhow. And I see them around. I think they look terrible, but they do. They buy this and they resell it. But that kid who buys expensive stuff, he's buying it and reselling it and using the money to buy other expensive stuff.
So it's making me think of No Logo.
Yeah.
Worth reading. And it's making me think, so when you were talking about money and stuff, I told that to my brother, and I feel like the next big book I'm going to dive into, I think, is David Graeber's History of Debt. I think I'm ready for that. Plus, he writes really well, so I think it's probably it's a big book, but it's, I would imagine, quite accessible. So, I still haven't read the Thomas Piketty that you've read as well, Capital.
I still haven't finished Balls and Jobs.
Oh, you haven't finished it?
No, I really should, but I'm enjoying John le Carré too much.
Oh, that's crime thrillers, isn't it? Or,
yeah. The Night
like
Manager
spy type thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you said you were reading it.
So good. And then I'm going to start on Dresden Files.
I read another Dresden Files that I finished on Monday night. The one I was talking about last Sunday. I started it Friday and I finished it Monday, and I spent 3 evenings reading that. It was so good. I devoured it. And you read it very fast, but it's so good. The last 2 volumes had big changes at the end, and you'll really enjoy it. They only have 2 volumes left. I'm like, ugh. And then it's not the end. It's just I'm gonna have to wait until the next one comes out.
Have you read Sandman?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah. So that's the other thing I want to get a copy of and just read.
Did you watch the TV show?
Nope. I want a nice, like.
Yeah, I have a nice edition of it. It's nice.
Have you got them all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get a nice kind of display like thing and just read it and enjoy it, and that might be a nice treat for myself. Well, and I need to get the second Dune one because I got this. Davina bought me this for Christmas last year.
Oh, cool! Is that a graphic novel or is it the book?
So it's a graphic novel, and it's very, very, very good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
I'll check it out. So I'm looking for graphic novels for Christmas gifts. So I'm gonna have a look at what I could get.
But I want to get them all and have them all nicely displayed. Oh, and speaking of, we've been talking a lot about play and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I did get the tattoo.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's
I remember you talking about it.
yeah, it evolved a little bit, and
Yeah, he's playing more of a fiddle and he's a little bit less like the fool, but I guess you could get him.
he's playing.
Wow.
He's on.
I
It's
never got a tattoo. I don't have any.
it's the tarot card. He's on one leg. He's got his worldly possessions, the rag. He's playing a guitar. He's off in the distance, not a care in the world. Adventure, looking forward, the whole thing. So
And why is
we're
he
always.
dead? Why is it a skull again? Just
I think it's just skull because I like
because you like it. It's like very 80s.
because I like it, and yeah, but also
You have to watch. I'm going to send you the Liquid Death things.
I know I've just
Very
looked
funny.
at it. I think I love it.
I only found out about it like a month or two ago. I couldn't believe I hadn't heard about it. They've been making a
I,
lot more noise. But
I can't believe it. Memento Mori is the other reason I've got it. Remember, you will die. We're only around for a certain amount of
that's
time.
right.
That kind of joke.
Yeah.
And now, of course, I want more again, and that's probably
How
the
many
most
tattoos do you have?
intricate. I got 5. I got the one on my back. I got a yin yang. I got sister in Sanskrit on my leg, and she's got brother. And I've got the 3 Star Wars symbols. So, yeah,
Wait, the Alliance, Empire, and what's the third then?
the third one is what Boba Fett has on his shoulder, the skull, the Bantha skull. And that represents the good, the bad, the ugly.
Okay.
And of course, now I'm thinking, and that's the most intricately designed, coolest one. I was born in the year of the dragon. I'd really like a dragon.
Wow.
And then I really like the litany against fear from June. I'm actually thinking of that. It's ridiculous, but yeah.
I can't even choose what to put on my walls, let alone what I would permanently tattoo on my skin. There's one time I thought about it and I started looking at designs and then I gave up.
Yeah,
So I couldn't
it's a
decide.
lifelong commitment, and that one, of course, has a whole bunch of other stuff going on with it. But
Well, commitment is the exactly the right kind of word that I can't. I'm like, I just can't commit to anything.
no, play is the main thing, and that's what I most enjoy about our conversations. So it seems like a good time to wrap it up, actually.
Yeah, totally. Really good. Thank you. Always a pleasure.